Howdy, miss me yet? So it's been a while. I apologize. I've been pretty busy with work and family, just like you. I hope you are doing well. I hope your families are doing well. It has been very difficult for everybody, to say the least, this past couple of months. There has been a lot of changes actually in the medical news. So therefore, I am making this video. Bear in mind, we're shooting this segment on June the 27th, 2020. So 48 hours from now, 72 hours from now, these numbers will change. There will be different updates and different news coming out. And of course, I am going to update you periodically on these changes. The last couple of videos I made concerning hydroxychloroquine, for some reason beyond me, I don't know, but it's been very controversial, hydroxychloroquine. It is no longer a medical issue, but much of a political issue, because I've been attacked by the liberals, by the conservative, and everybody in between. And all I'm telling you is the medical news. So some of you just can't help it, can you? Some of you just have to make political issue out of everything. So despite that, we still have to talk about it. There's been some changes and some studies that came out and published in the renowned New England Journal of Medicine. So I'm going to go through those newest findings. But first off, we are going to look at a global picture, and then we're going to update on the situation in the United States. And I'm going to spend some time on the state of Virginia, where I'm from. And after that, we are going to dive into some of the newest studies that were released by the medical organizations. And I am giving you the filter information so that you can filter out the unfiltered information, if that makes any sense. So we're going to go right into it. So here we are on the World Health Organization. Again, today is 6/27/2020. So this information was updated as at 8 o'clock a.m. Geneva time this morning. So globally, we're dealing with nearly 10 million cases now, and over or close to 180,000 new cases just reported for today, of which almost 500,000 deaths have been reported worldwide, 491,000 to be exact. So if we scroll down a little bit here, and we can actually see the number of confirmed cases on the global situation, where you see from February and March, and it picked around the late of April in the world. And ever since, we are not able to come off the mountain. In fact, we are just basically drag our feet, and the cases have been augmented or increased from June the 1st, because a lot of countries, including the United States, are opened up again. So therefore, we're seeing an increase or spike of cases from June the 1st to now. And it makes you wonder if this is the peak at all, or we haven't even hit the peak yet, just by looking at this graph here. Now, in terms of death, we are not increasing, but we're not able to go down tremendously either. So it looks like we peak around the mid-April in terms of number of deaths around the world. And then ever since then, we are not able to come off the mountain either. We are just basically dangle and drag it on and on and on. And we are having spikes, minor spikes in death in the month of June as well. So that is basically the world map situation from the WHO. Let's go to the Center for Disease Control, or the CDC. This situation is, of course, pertaining to the United States. We are at 2.4 million total cases. And again, this information was updated rather this morning, to which 124,000 deaths. And if you are comparing the number of deaths to the number of cases, we are standing at roughly 5% of mortality here, which is pretty high. I honestly don't think that's a real mortality percentage, because there's a lot of cases out there that we have not diagnosed, and there is a big percentage of people walking around with COVID-19, and they are asymptomatic and they don't know. And those are the ones who are spreading the disease and they don't know. So let's go down to the 50 states map. The worst one is, of course, again, New York, almost 180,000 cases. Virginia stands at about 60,000 cases. So that just got updated there. And now this graph is quite important, because we see in the beginning of March to the middle of March is basically took a skyrocket path, went all the way up, and it peaked around the beginning of April. and then we started slowly come off the curve, but then we are really not able to come off that fast. And then we spike up again in the beginning of June because most of the states reopen again in June. So there you have it. That is the situation in the United States. If we talk about Virginia, over 61,000 cases. This is my state. The most heavily hit county is Fairfax County, almost 14,000. And of course, Loudoun stand at number 2 at almost 4,000. Among the 61,000 cases, there's about 1,700 or more of total deaths. Now, you look at the curves in Virginia, we're actually doing pretty good, knock on the wood. So we pick around the month of May. So in the middle, towards the end of May, we picked in Virginia. We started to come off quite rapidly in Virginia, but now things are opened up again, and we can see the slope of the curve where the cases being reported, the spikes of cases being reported again. So if we're not careful, instead of going nicely down like so, we are going to make a turn and we are going to skyrocket again. So it all depends on how many people are wearing masks and how many people are spreading the disease and how close the people are. So there's a lot of factors to play into it. Of course, the economy is a huge factor in all cases. So again, these are numbers I'm reporting. So around 3 weeks ago, or around the beginning of June, June the 3rd, 2020, there was an article published on the New England Journal of Medicine, which is, again, the most renowned medical journal, probably the most prestigious in the world, concerning hydroxychloroquine. So it was the first study that was randomized, double-blind, control trial. Placebo control trial. So randomized, double-blinded placebo control trial. So in medicine or in science, you're not going to get higher than this. This is the gold standard of any study. So what they did was they took about 821 asymptomatic patients who were knowingly exposed to confirmed COVID-19 infections, either their family members or at work. So 821 people, they were exposed to COVID patients. They took this 821 patient, they divided them by half. Half got hydroxychloroquine, half got a placebo. Nobody knew what they got. The patient don't know which medication they were getting. The doctors did not know which patients and what medication they were giving, and hence the term double-blinded placebo control. And they followed with these patients, 821 patients, over the next 14 days. So on the group that gave the hydroxychloroquine, they gave a loading dose and they gave a daily dose for 4 more days of that. And the group of placebo obviously got a sugar pill. And at the end of the study, within 14 days, they measure the rate of infection on the group that received the hydroxychloroquine and the rate of infection on the group that did not get the hydroxychloroquine. Well, it turned out there was no difference. There was no difference. So the conclusion is there was no statistical significance between the group that received the medication, hydroxychloroquine, versus the group that did not receive. So therefore, you have it now, the gold standard study in medicine. And by the way, this study was actually done in the United States and also in Canada. So now you have confirmation, along with some study out of New York as well, that hydroxychloroquine does not prevent COVID-19 infection in people who were exposed to the coronavirus. So this is not political. This is medical. This is the trial they did, and that is the result. And I will post the link of that study underneath so you can actually read it yourself. So there was another study came out several weeks ago, and this one was actually done in the United Kingdom, and it's called the Recovery Trial. So in that particular study, they were looking at a very old drug, okay, well-established drug called dexamethasone. So dexamethasone is a steroid, and it is steroid that is widely used in medicine, I use that medication many times, and it is used in rheumatological conditions, inflammatory conditions. And that trial was looking at the dexamethasone in patients who were infected with coronavirus and hence COVID-19 disease, and they were actually in the ICU. So they gave dexamethasone to those patients who were actually on ventilators. And they found out that the group that received dexamethasone, who were on ventilator, who were getting oxygen supplementation, had a much better chance of survival compared to the group that did not get dexamethasone. So same patients in the ICU, one got dexamethasone, the other one did not, and the ones who got the dexamethasone had a better survival. So precisely is 40% versus 29%. So therefore, the conclusion of the study is dexamethasone is useful in increasing the survival rate of COVID-19 ICU patients who are already on ventilation and on oxygen support. Now, please don't call your doctor and request dexamethasone, okay? This study was done on people who were dying in the ICU. They were on a vent and they were getting oxygen. The study found that people who were not on a vent and who were not on oxygen, giving dexamethasone did not change anything. So again, that is a very important point. And now the NIH is recommend to use dexamethasone as a treatment, a daily treatment in the ICU on people who are critically ill. So that is the newest development on the new therapeutics for COVID-19. So I want to spend some moments to share with you my personal and my professional experience with COVID-19. As you know, I do practice, I am a clinician. I practice primary care right here in the United States. I have a panel of patients that I see every day. And where I practice is rather a medium-sized practice. We do COVID testing. So we do nasal swab COVID testing where we have done hundreds of them. So now I cannot speak for the other doctors. I can only speak on my panel of patients. The ones that I diagnosed with COVID-19, surprisingly, the most common complaints are not cough and shortness of breath. On my panel, the most common complaint from the patients who were diagnosed positive for COVID-19, the most common signs and symptoms was actually loss of smells and loss of taste. And also, they reported muscle pain and joint pain and mild fever. Actually, I have fewer patients complaining of cough and shortness of breath. Knock on the wood, none of the patients on my panel died because of COVID-19 infection. None. Including the ones who are in the late 70s. So I have a very nice couple, elderly couple, and they have been my patient for a while. The wife complained of muscle pain, a little bit of fatigue, subjective fever, and loss of taste and loss of smell. So I tested her, and fair enough, she came back positive for COVID. And I asked her, have you been out of your house in the past couple of months, couple of weeks? She said, no, I haven't been out of my house for 3 months except to go for groceries, to which I wear a mask and put gloves on. Well, I said, have you had visitors or have you visited anybody? She said, no. The only person who goes to work and come home is my husband. He's an essential employee. She was in the late 70s and he was in the early 70s. Her husband had zero symptoms or close to zero symptoms. The only thing he had was a little sniffle in the nose. So of course I tested him, and of course he came back positive, and he was very surprised that it was positive. So I'm telling you that on my panel, the patients who were diagnosed with COVID-19 have rather mild symptoms, and some of them have no symptoms at all, and they were incidentally found that they were infected with COVID-19. So I am thinking every day in my clinic, am I dealing with a different strain of coronavirus? Are we having a different strain right here in northern part of the United States, northeast of the United States? Are we having a different strain of coronavirus that's causing COVID-19 infection? Or the coronavirus might be losing its steam. I mentioned in one of my earliest video back in January that often the law of nature dictate in a way that if a virus wants to survive, and in this case, the coronavirus wants to survive badly, it just wouldn't go away. So the only way for it to survive is that it would infect person to person, from host to host. And it would make itself to spread easier. In doing so, it has to give up something. And usually it becomes less virulent. I mentioned this back in one of my earliest videos on coronavirus. So I'm hoping it's the case. And again, I am not speaking for all the doctors in the United States. So if you're from California and Texas, don't call in and don't comment that you have different situation down there. I am only sharing with you my professional experience on my patient panel that I have. And also, I've been prescribing hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin left and right for the past several months. And to be honest with you, to the ones I prescribed to, report no significant changes. So there you have it. It's, the symptoms are different. They're mild. Knock on the wood, nobody on my panel died yet. So because of these studies, this new study on New England Journal of Medicine, I stopped prescribing hydroxychloroquine. I explained that to the patient, and some of my patients are actually watching this video right now. So they are also up to date on what I do clinically as a physician. So I hope these updates are helpful, and as they come along, I will try to make more videos to update you. Again, please, if you are going to do political insult on my channel, please look somewhere else. I'm not interested. I'm only here to report medical news. Why don't you go on MSNBC and CNN and Fox News and, knock yourself out politically, okay? All right, thank you guys, and I'll see you later. Take care.